What's going on, beautiful subscribers? It's February 22nd here in southeastern Pennsylvania, zone 7A, and the flower buds on the fruit trees are starting to swell. And that means it's time to do our first spray application. Copper fungicide is best sprayed as a preventative measure. It stops the fungal spores from germinating. So, the more surface area that we spray, the less area there is for the fungal spores to germinate. The best time to spray for peach leaf curl is in the fall of last year when all the leaves fall off the tree, and then again now, which we're doing today, and then again in 14 days. Peach leaf curl will not kill your peach tree, but what it does is rob the fruit of lots of energy. As the tree leaves become diseased with the fungal spores, it will drop the leaves and then have to grow all new leaves, and it takes the energy away from the fruit. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about everything that has to do with spraying. And I feel comfortable talking about this subject with you guys because I've been issued a license in the state of Pennsylvania for categories 6 and 7, which is lawn and turf and tree and shrub. And this just means that I've passed the proper exams and that I continue to get credits annually at chemical seminars. These seminars are usually held at colleges in the area, and they talk about all sorts of different things like diseases and pests and regulations. So here is my chemical license. You do not need a chemical license to spray your own backyard orchard. You only need a license if you're going to spray for hire. But I thought I would just show you guys that I do know a little bit about this topic. On top of that, where I work, I am responsible for training 15 co-workers every single year on all things related to spraying so that they can also get a technician license underneath my real license. And this 30-day training program is all about things like respiratory equipment, human health effects, environmental effects, state and federal regulations. Okay, so now that I've proven a little bit of credibility, let's talk about what we're spraying today. Today we're spraying copper fungicide. This product is made by Bonide, but there's lots of other manufacturers that make copper fungicide. This product works extremely well against peach leaf curl, which we are going to be targeting today in our nectarines, peaches, and apricot trees. The product, though, has a wide label. It also helps with diseases like rust, fruit spot, and powdery mildew. So another great thing about this product is it's labeled organic. You can read it right there on the bottle. But just because a product is labeled organic does not mean that it's pesticide free. Pesticides can be derived in a laboratory or from natural resources. So anything that's labeled organic is usually derived 95% from natural resources. Okay, so a few other examples of a organic product would be neem oil, insecticidal soap, or pyrethrin. But we're not going to talk a lot about organic or inorganic on this channel because everyone has the right to choose what's best for them and their family in their own backyard orchard. I just want you to know that here on Uncle Clay's farm, we are not 100% organic. There are a decent amount of fruit trees that will be sprayed with chemicals that are derived from a lab. Before we can get started spraying, before we should even open this bottle up, we're required by law to read the label. The label is usually a small packet stuck to the back, which you can see here. It'll give you all sorts of information like application directions and directions for use and the different fruit trees and different diseases with different rates. There'll be some precautionary statements in here as well, but I can't stress it enough. It is the law. You have to read this label before you start spraying because they are going to hold you accountable if anything goes wrong. Okay, after we've gone through the label, we are going to double check that the trees that we want to spray today are indeed on here. So, peaches, nectarines, apricots, they all can get peach leaf curl. That's what we'll be spraying for today. So if you come through the label here towards the back, it talks about different crops. And on here you will see under stone fruit a list. And you will see right here, apricot, nectarine, and peaches. It'll also give you the rate they want you to use and some application notes. That being said, there are a lot of products that don't cover both pome fruits and stone fruits. So, if you want to spray your apples and your pears, your pome fruits, you're not always going to be able to use the same product on your stone fruits, your plums, your peaches, your cherries, your nectarines. So it's very important to look. A lot of products do not have them all on the label. But copper fungicide does. It's a very big label. Alright, so peaches, their cousin nectarines, and even almonds, which are in the peach family, can all get peach leaf curl. Also, apricots can also get some peach leaf curl. So I'm going to spray them as well. I have 4 apricots here while I have my backpack sprayer mixed up with the copper fungicide. So there's one more thing I like to look at, especially if I'm spraying a chemical I've never sprayed before, and that is the MSDS sheet. You can go online and pull this for any product. It's a material safety data sheet. This will give you much more in-depth information about the chemical. You will find things in here like the toxicity levels, chemical composition, storage and handling. I like to look at these to decide, help me gauge how harsh this chemical might actually be. So if we look at the toxicity level here on the MSDS sheet for Bonide, you can see that there is very minimal classifications. Most of it doesn't even register. They talk about acute toxicity, skin corrosion, irritation, serious eye damage, irritation, respiration, or skin sensitivity. All of these are extremely low on the Bonide MSDS sheet for copper fungicide. But if you go and compare that to a non-organic fungicide, for example, chlorothalonol, you will see that it registers on the toxicity level category 4, category 2, category 2, category 3. These are all substantially higher levels of chemical toxicity. Alright, so we read the label, and it says not to get any on your skin, not to breathe any of it in, and don't get any in your eyes. So, you saw me earlier, I was wearing this big white jumpsuit, but I don't normally wear this. I was wearing it for the sake of the video. That being said, I did feel much safer in this than I do in my normal clothing. So, instead of that, I usually wear this. It has a neck, mouth protector, and a hood. It does almost the same thing. So you want to wear a long pants, a long sleeve t-shirt or sweatshirt, a hooded sweatshirt, and then the specific particulate pesticide mask. Then all you need is some sort of eye protection. This is overkill. These seem to work fine. So, head to toe, no skin showing, a particulate pesticide mask. This is not an N95 mask. And glasses. And that will cover 99% of the labels. I forgot probably the most important protective gear other than the mask, and that is going to be some sort of chemical gloves. Now we want to be wearing these when we do the measuring, the mixing, the pouring, the spraying from the beginning to the end. We definitely want to have these on at all times. Alright, so now we're ready to mix the chemical. We have our gloves on, and most labels want you to wear a mask when you're doing the measuring and the mixing and the pouring. I'm not going to be wearing one for the sake of this video, but the copper fungicide is 2 ounces per gallon of water, which is pretty standard. We have 3 different sprayers here that you saw me using already in the video. This sprayer here works great if you have 1, 2, 3 fruit trees. It is effective for a small backyard orchard or garden. This one here I really love. This is a 5-gallon sprayer. It's a battery powered. This is made by Sprayer Plus. This is going to work great for you if you have more than 5 trees. You're definitely going to want to step up the amount of water and chemical that you're using. So, and then over there I have a 25-gallon ATV sprayer, and that's great if you're over 20 trees, 25 trees. You're really going to want to consider that, as you don't have to come back and fill up as much, and mix as much chemical, and you can stay further away from the tree because it has more pressure, and that means you're getting less chemical on you as you're spraying. So all 3 of these have one thing in common, and it is a problem. The filters all get clogged on any sprayer you use. So it's very important that you check the filter before you fill it up with water and mix it, because If it gets clogged while you're using it, you generally have to dump the entire solution out to get to the filter and then pour it back in, and you get covered with chemical and it's a complete mess. So this sprayer here, the filter is on the inside down in the tank, so I won't be able to show you that one. But this is a more standard backpack sprayer, and you can see the filter is in the handle. So if you start losing pressure and your backpack sprayer is not working properly, it is 90% of the time a clogged filter. So one way to stop that from happening is to use a strainer. We here on the farm have well water. So the well water can clog the filter. Some people use an external water tank that collects algae on the inside. That can clog the filter. And some chemicals, after they've been sitting, can coagulate and also clog the filter. So it's very important to strain your water through here. I would be using a hose, but I don't have one out here. And then, after you measure the chemical, 2 ounces per gallon, so we're going to be putting 8 ounces of the Bonide copper fungicide per 4-gallon backpack. You're going to pour that through the filter as well. And if you use some sort of strainer, you will stop the only real problem these sprayers have, and that is clogging the filter. Alright, so this is a perfect example of why this 1-gallon pump sprayer is still very useful, even for someone like me who has a large orchard, because we have a dwarf nectarine tree here inside of the pool area, and it's very hard for me to spray this with anything else other than this. You can see we used about half a gallon of finished solution here, and we fully soaked the tree. Always fill the backpack sprayer up with water first before you put the chemical in. Because what can happen is if you dump the chemical in first, which I have seen a lot of my coworkers do, the chemical will get stuck on the bottom down here where the filter is, and then when they start pumping the backpack sprayer, it'll get sucked into the filter, and then the whole rate of the solution is changed. So it's very important to fill up whatever sprayer you're using with water first, then dump the chemical in. Alright, so one thing I highly recommend you do is label your backpack sprayers, because once you get a decent amount of trees, you're going to be spraying more often. And you're not going to want to clean the tank out every time you go from your fruit trees to a herbicide. For me, I spray glyphosate, which is like Roundup, in the beds around the property. I also spray Trimec on the lawn around the property. This one you could see right here says Safari, which is a systemic insecticide for boars or emerald ash boars or the spotted lanternfly. So if you're doing other spraying around the property, I suggest you get 2 different backpack sprayers and we label them. This one says Safari, and this one we're going to write fruit trees, and that way we don't get anything mixed up. Now, if you only have one backpack sprayer and you don't do a lot of spraying and you do want to go from a herbicide to a insecticide or fungicide for your fruit trees, then you can get a product like this, like a Let's Go tank cleaner. And this product works a little bit better than soap, and it will neutralize any residual chemical that was left over from before, because the last thing we want to do is spray our trees with leftover Roundup that we were using to spray the paver patios in the backyard. Now, every backpack sprayer is generally going to come with different tips and nozzles, as you can see in here. Doesn't make a huge difference for fruit trees as it would for spraying your lawn, but generally the cone sprayer, or this one right here that you can adjust, works well. And it'll fan it out or bring it in. Sometimes, depending on how windy it is, you're gonna want to use a different tip. All right, so speaking of the wind, there's probably 3 things you want to check before you do any of this, and it has to do with weather. And we do not want to spray if it's too windy. We do not want to spray if we have freezing temperatures coming up, and we do not want to spray if there's rain in the next 24 hours. So if I see the wind supposed to be above 15 miles per hour with any gusts whatsoever, I just won't spray, because you're going to end up just getting it all over you. It's going to be drifting onto the buildings and the patios and the furniture, and you're not going to want that to happen. So make sure it's not windy. Make sure it's above freezing the following 24 hours, and make sure there's no rain in the forecast, which is just going to wash off the product and ruin all the hard work that you did. We're going to be spraying 5 of my peach trees here today with the copper fungicide. And the first thing we want to do is make sure that the dogs put in the house and there's no kids around or any other people. And then we want to check the wind direction, because it's important that we're spraying with the wind in our back so we get the least amount of chemicals on us as possible. Alright, so because I share this property with a bunch of other people, I want to be putting out the pesticide treated area signs, flags, so that people know not to enter this area. And then I'll remove them in 24 hours. But for now, we'll stick a couple of these out. You can see my nephew's back there playing, so we want to make sure that they don't come into this area. Alright everybody, so that's it for today's video. I know we went over a lot of stuff, so if you have any questions at all, just hit me down in the comments section. And we're going to be doing more spraying videos in the future, but not in this depth. So please, if you liked the video, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.